Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvabhignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Yenakshara Samamnayam Adhigamya Maheshwarat Kritsnam Vyakaranam Proktam Tasmai Paninaye Namaha Vakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Paninim Sutrakarancha Pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagarthaviva Samprikto Vagarthah Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste everyone, welcome to class. So we have been talking about Karmani Prayoga. So we'll continue with that. So on the screen, we have a warm-up exercise of please complete the conjugation for Gam Dhatu in Karmani Prayoga. So this is on page 45 of the workbook. Page 45. If you do not have the workbook, no problem. You can just get out a piece of paper and you can write along with us. So let's do it together. I'll make this a little bit bigger and I'll try to type again. So Gam Dhatu, 1P, to go. We're in Lat Lakara, and we're in Karmani Prayoga. So on that third line, you can add Karmani Prayoga and Ungum. So let's talk about Ungum. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, so the Ungum is, so how we make the Ungum for a Karmani Prayoga. So let's look at those rules again. I don't know if I have them here. Okay, so look on the top right of the screen. It says when making an Ungum in Karmani Prayoga, we take the Dhatu as it is, we add Yakara, and then we add Atmanepada suffix. So let's do a little bit more cheating. There's some Atmanepada suffix. Let me move that so you can see both things. Okay, so I'm just going to put this up here. It's going to cover Ungum, but that's okay. Okay. So the Ungum for Gum, so what we do is we take the Dhatu as it is, so we can write Gum. Then we add Yakara. So Gum, and then I add Yakara, and then I add all the suffixes. So this is the Anga, so we add Gamya. And now we go ahead and we go across. Okay, so Gamya plus te is Gamyate. Gamya plus ite, Gamyete. Right, that a plus e becomes a. So Gamya becomes Gamye. Then Gamya plus ante, Gamyante. Gamya plus se, Gamya se. And then gamya plus ithe, gamyethe. Gamya plus dwe, gamya dwe. I'm doing this slow, I know, but it's okay. We're not in a rush, right? We can do this together so people can also write. Gamya dwe, right? Gamya plus dwe, because gamyas are anga. Gamya plus a is gamye. That a plus a becomes a, right? The second a eats the first akara. Gamye, then gamyavahe. And then gamyamahe. Oops. Okay, great. So hopefully your looks like this also on the screen. So just to recap, right? We're talking about karmani prayoga. Karmani prayoga is a type of voice. Karmani prayoga means passive voice. So it's a different structure of the sentence than what we would say in active voice or kartari prayoga. So active voice, kartari prayoga, and passive voice, karmani prayoga. Karmani prayoga, the verb points to or denotes the karma, the object of the sentence. Okay, so when we're translating, if we say gamyate, we would say he, she, it. Sorry. You can't really, like, the village was gone to. We can say the village was gone towards. Village was gone towards. Or the village was, two villages were gone towards. All the villages were gone towards, etc. Right? I hope that makes sense. So the translation is slightly different. We would have to have the object, so the village here, and then the verb will denote that object. So the village is gone towards. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. Feel free to let me know. You can do it in private chat, and so then we can continue there. Okay. So this is, remember, just how to do the conjugation on the chart. Let's do a little bit more practice. Let's do ish. Okay, so let's do ish together. So this is on the next page. This is page 46 of your workbook. Okay, in the chat, can you tell me what the anga is for ish dhatu? Okay, so I'm seeing some answers. Ishya, ishya, ishya. Yep, so that's correct. So we take it as it is, which is ish, then we add a yakara. That's all we have to do to make the anga. Okay, so it's ishya. Okay. I'm gonna just switch cameras 1 second. Make this a little bit easier. Okay, so now you can see my paper. We can do it together. It'll be a little bit faster. Okay, so ish. Okay, so ish dhatu. 1p, to desire. Right, this is the dhatu. And then we do lakara. Lakara is lut, and we're going to talk about what lakara is in today's class little later on. So this is present tense. What we're doing is then prayoga, the voice. And right, this is karmani prayoga. Passive voice. And the ungum, as we saw, is ish. Let me rewrite that. Ishya. Okay. Then we're going to do singular, dual, plural. Pratama Purusha, Madhyama Purusha, Uttama Purusha. Ishya plus te is ishyate. Okay, I'm going to skip some and then we'll fill them in afterwards. Ishya plus ante, ishyante. Ishya, I'm going to skip this one. Ishya plus te is ishyete. Ishya plus dwe, ishyadwe. I'll skip this one. Ishya plus vahe, ishyavahe. And then ishyamahe. Okay, so now on the chat, sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't on the screen. On the chat, can you fill in these 3 blanks? So number 1, number 2, and number 3 here. Okay, so I see some good answers. Okay. Yeah, so there's a question. It says, ish is 1p. Do we use atmanepada suffixes? And the answer is yes. Okay, why though? Because when we're in karmani prayoga, passive voice, no matter what the dhatu, even if it's P or A or U, whatever it is, in karmani prayoga, we always use atmanepada suffixes. Okay? Now that's different than kartari prayoga or active voice. In kartari prayoga, we have to look if it's P, A, or U, and then we'll use the specific suffixes. Okay? So all these answers are basically correct. So let's fill it in. Ish, yete, ish, yase, and then ish, ye. Yeah. So this is advanced stuff. This is great. We're doing well. So can we have a little vote? Thumbs up if you want to do one more, or thumbs down if you're ready to move on. Okay, looks like I'm getting thumbs down. First, I don't feel bad, don't worry. Okay, we'll go to the next thing. Okay, looks like we're moving fast. Okay, so next topic we're going to talk about is Lakara. Now, Lakara you can find in your book, not page 45. Can someone tell me what page Lakara? It's in the beginning of near the beginning of the book we're in verbs. I don't have that book with me right now, so If you can type in the chat what page this is on Lakaras. Probably around page 20 or something like that. Okay, someone is saying 45. I don't think it's on 45. 23, page 23. That sounds about right. Page 23. Page 23, you'll see this. It says Lakara. So this is where you want to be, page 23 of your book 1. Not workbook, book 1. Okay, so we're switching books. All right, before we talk about this, I'm gonna make it a little bit easier for us. The book makes it a little bit more complicated, so I'm gonna do some drawing. Okay, so we have this thing called, okay, so in Sanskritam, we have a sentence, right, vakyam, and vakyam is made up of padani, right, words. Now there's two types of words. There's subantam, or there's tingantam, and there's subantam. Tingantam is made up of dhatuhu plus ting pratyaya. Subantam is made up of pratipadikam plus supratyaya. Okay, we've talked about that 100 times, but I actually left off something. So we have a ting pratyaya ting pratyaya, but before there was a ting pratyaya, we have to look at its parent, and its parent is what we call a lakara. Okay, a lakara is what precedes the ting pratyaya. So initially we have a dhatuhu plus lakara. Okay, so before we even get to dhatu plus ting pratyaya, initially actually what we start with is dhatu plus lakara. Okay? So we have to note this, that initially we start with dhatu plus lakara, then this lakara is replaced by ting pratyaya. Okay? Now this lakara can give us two things. It can give us prayoga, such as kartari and karmani prayoga, right? Like we talked about today, such as kartari and karmani. Now the pratyaya, and lakara, the second thing that lakara can denote is tense or mood. Is tense or mood. Okay, so like what we say is like present tense, past tense, future tense. This is actually told by the lakara. Okay, so that's all told by the lakara. Now, these two things are then inherited by the ting pratyaya eventually. So eventually the ting pratyaya will replace the lakara. So this will replace the lakara, and it gets the inheritance from its father or mother, right? It gets this prayoga and tense or mood. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. So we start with dhatu plus lakara, and the lakara is eventually replaced by ting pratyaya, and the ting pratyaya gets all of the qualities of the lakara, namely these two qualities. Okay? So I hope that's clear. Now, lakaras are called so because they all start with la, right? They all start with la, so therefore we call it lakara. We're not trying to be too smart with the naming here. They all start with la, so we call them lakara. There's these 10 types of lakaras that we see on the screen. Lat, lit, lut. So a, I, u, r. You see how the vowels, lat, lit, lut, rit, lot. Then lung, vidiling, ashirling, lung, and ring. Okay. So like we talked about, right? Lakara represents those two things, voice and tense and mood. Tense and mood, we talked about prayoga already. We already talked about kartari and karmani. And really what they come from is this lakara. Okay, so just to note that. Now, look, there's a lot of information that's on the screen right now, and we don't need to know a lot of it right now. Eventually we'll learn this. But what's important is that this lakara can represent tense or mood. Now, for tense, what we mean is just like what we mean in English tense, like a present tense, past tense, future tense. So if you see on the screen, number one, lat can be used in present tense. So what we've been doing so far in all of the verbs is we've been doing lat lakara. We've been using present tense to express actions which are started and not finished, meaning they're happening now. Okay, then there's lit. Lit is past tense, but it's perfect past tense. So an action in the past, which the speaker does not witness. Okay, anyways, they're very specific tense rules. So that's why I don't want to get into them, but notice that, right, lit is past, and then you have another past here, lung. Okay, this is past number two. This is, and then we have two future tenses. And then you have a few, what we call moods. And also number 5 is a mood. Okay, so number 5 is also a mood, so we need to include it with the moods. Okay, so what do we mean by mood? So if we look at number 5, it says lot. Lot is called imperative mood. So it's different than tense, because tense talks about a point in time, so past, present, future, whereas a mood is a specific, you have a specific intention with what you're communicating the verb. So for example, when I want to express an action, which is a invitation, or if I'm commanding you, then I want to use lot lakara, because lot expresses an action, which is a command, an invitation, or a prayer. Reason I'm picking lot is because every verb we look at in sadhana panchakam is lot lakara. Because whoever wrote this is commanding or inviting us to follow these 40 sadhanas. So they use that verb in the sense of commanding or inviting us. So vakyarthascha vicharyatam. Vicharyatam, for example. Vicharyatam is karmani and it's lot. So it's saying, may you reflect upon. May you, right? That may you sense, may you do this is come from that lot lakara. Then you'll see some other moods down here. We don't need to get into the weeds right now, into them, but we just need to know that there's 10 lakaras and they can communicate prayoga, active voice, passive voice, and then they can also communicate these tenses and moods. Okay, if anybody has any questions, let me know in the chat. I can slow it down. I've been told I talk fast. No, okay, I'm getting a no. Okay. With that said, we're almost done with verbs. So we need, which is a big deal. We moved quite quickly through verbs. Okay, so we have one question. Let me get to that one question and then I'll come come back. Okay, Harprasad ji, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Are you going to talk about Vidhiling and Ashirling?
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now. We can talk about it. Okay, so Vidhiling and Ashirling. So if we look at number 7 and number 8. So number 7, Vidhiling, can be used what we call potential mood. And it expresses an action which is a command, an invitation, a prayer, etc. So it's very similar to lot if you look at these two. They're very similar. So oftentimes our prayers that we say are in lot lakara, vidhiling, or usually lot or vidhiling, because we're saying a prayer. It's an invitation or a prayer. We don't want to say we're commanding Bhagavan to give us things, right? So we say it's a prayer or an invitation for Bhagavan to help us with certain things. So that's vidhiling. Ashirling is more if something is wished. When something is wished to happen, when you're wishing, then you use ashirling. You can also say like when you give ashirvad, right? Ashirvad is best wishes almost, right? So this is when you use ashirling when you want to wish something. Now, the suffixes will be slightly different for some of these. Now, we're not going to talk about those right now because it's hard enough learning lat lakara right now, right? We want to focus on kartari and karmani prayoga and lat lakara, and then we can eventually get to the other lakaras. But I hope that answers the question. Please give me another question mark if that didn't answer it. And then there was one more question in the chat that I saw, and it says, does karmani prayoga have to have atmane pada ending always? Yeah, it does always have to have atmane pada in karmani prayoga. In karmani prayoga, you always need to have atmane pada suffixes, not kartari prayoga. Kartari prayoga, you get both. Okay. Now, like I was saying, we're coming up near the end. So we need to I just want to show you how the format of putting everything together, what we've learned so far. When we have a verb, right, there's two things. There's dhatu and ting pratyaya, right? We have to assume that we've already had a lakara and the lakara is replaced. So we have a dhatu and ting pratyaya, which make up a verb. So we've gacchati, right? Gacchati's dhatu is gam, to go. And then the ting pratyaya, we have to include all of this information, right? And we've learned all this information. We have to include what lakara it came from. So we have to say lat lakara, indicating the tense or the mood. We have to say which prayoga is it in. And then we have to say purusha, so which third person, second person, first person, and vachanam, singular, dual, plural. Okay, so notice how many pieces of material. So even with the dhatu, we need gum and should say 1p to go because you need the group and you need PARU. So you should get dhatu, gana, PARU, then we need lakara, prayoga, purusha, and vachanam. These 7 things is really what we need. It seems a lot, but if you look at the screen, like it's not that much once you get into practice. So let's do some practice. I have some verbs up on the screen. So let's start with number 2. Okay. Now for number 2, can you give me all the details for this? So what I'm talking about is just give me the dhatu, 1p, then the meaning. Number 2, jivanti means to live, 1p to live, jiv dhatu. And then all the information for the pratyaya. You don't need to write pratyaya. You can just tell me lakara, prayoga, purusha, and vachana. Okay, so what you're writing in the chat is dhatu, 1p, to live, and then all the pratyaya information afterwards. I want us to get in this practice, okay? And it has to be systematic like this as we move forward. You have to remember dhatu, then all the pratyaya information. Pratyaya information includes all these four things. For number 2, jivanti. Okay. Harprasad ji, you have a question?
It really belongs to the beginning of the class. When we use, say, ish dhatu,
Ish dhatu, correct?
yeah, you took it. It was your choice to have it as karmani.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can do that ish dhatu in kartari
Kartari also,
or
yeah.
karmani.
Yeah.
It depends on the vivaksha or the intention of the teacher or whoever's writing that sentence.
Correct.
Do they want to write the sentence in active voice or passive voice?
Correct.
All the sentences in sadhana panchakam are passive voice.
Yeah.
And often I write in passive voice, but in English, passive voice is frowned upon. So I have a lot of problems writing because I'm so used to the Sanskrit passive voice. But it's frowned upon in formal English writing, just as a note.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'm getting some answers in the group chat. So Jeev, keep writing if you're still typing. Is it Jeev, 1P, Lat Lakara, Kartari Prayoga, good. This was tricky because I was just talking about Karmani Prayoga. I want to trick you a little bit. This is Kartari Prayoga. Then Pratama Purushaha Bahuvachanam. Okay, so let me, I'll write it in the chat. I'm just going to copy someone's. Okay, thank you to Saroja ji. Oh. I'm going to type it to everyone. Jeev Dhatu, 1P, to go. Oh, it's not to go, it's to live. So that's only the note. 1P, to live. Lat Lakara, Kartari Prayoga, Pratama, Purusha, Bahuvachana. Okay, how do I know it's Kartari Prayoga versus Karmani Prayoga? I know it's Kartari Prayoga because I don't see the signs for Karmani Prayoga. Karmani Prayoga, I need a Yakara and I need Atmanepada type suffix. Here I have no Yakara and I have Parasmaipada type suffixes. Okay, so I know that it cannot be Karmani Prayoga and therefore it must be Kartari Prayoga. I hope that's not too roundabout, but more practices. Okay, okay, let's do one more and we'll do, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, this is, we'll do, let me pick one. Let me pick a hard one. Okay, number 7. Tyagaha ishyate. Okay, that's not very hard, but hopefully you can get it. Tyagaha ishyate. Just for helping you, right? We just did this on page 46 of your workbook. So Tyagaha means renunciation is blank. Okay, so hopefully I'll get an answer from everyone. There's 26 people in the class right now. Hopefully we'll get 26 answers. It's ambitious of me. Okay, we're starting to get more answers, and we'll wrap up also. So okay, I just wanted to check something. So I actually made a mistake before. We said ish is 1p, ish is 6p. So that's something to note. Okay. So let's fix that. So before on page 46 of your workbook, I said 1p, it is 6p. So thanks for the people who pointed that out. I actually made up that it was 1p, it is 6p. Either way, it doesn't really change what we did. Okay. Now we're doing karmani prayoga. So the dhatu is still ish. We would say ish, 6p, to wish or to desire. Lat lakaraha, karmani prayoga. I know it's karmani because it's ishya. You see that yakara and you see atmanepada. Right? Karmani prayoga, pratama purusha, ekavachanam. Okay, so ish dhatu, 6p, to desire. Lat lakara. Okay. Karmani prayoga, pratama purusha, ekavachanam. Okay, let's. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So your your homework, I said your dhatu, your homework is, okay, we didn't, no homework this time. If I will look at the other book to see if there's something else we can do. Actually, what we can do, not that we need to have homework, but I think this will be helpful, is in the back of your book, exercise, I have to find out the exercise number, but it's the first, now I'll email it out. I'll email it out, but what we'll do is we'll take all of the verbs for the first 8 of this exercise, and we'll write out all this information for all these 8. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So I'll write out the page and I'll send in the email. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll start at 8:12. And if you have any questions in the meantime, my video will be off, but I'm still here. Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute break.